On July 21st, Steve Warner, one of the co-designers of Disney Lorcana, and Rochelle Brady, the global community manager of Disney Lorcana, did a Q&A on Twitter and answered some new questions that have come up the last couple of weeks. They also dropped a bunch of new cards. We'll be covering the Q&A questions as well as the newest cards revealed since our last video. The newest card was dropped on a livestream by Hobbies and Happiness, and that card was Jafar, Keeper of Secrets. It's a 4-cost Amethyst character with 0 strength, 5 willpower, and 2 lore. The reason he has 0 strength is because of his ability, Hidden Wonders, which allows Jafar +1 strength for each card in your hand. If you can get some card draw going, then this card could help remove some heavy willpower characters from your opponent. But I don't think this card changes everything. Keeping cards in your hand in this game is relatively hard, but if you happen to pair this with the song card A Whole New World, then you can definitely deliver some hurt to your opponent. Dicebreaker released an article with 3 new cards from Tangled. The first one, Rapunzel, gifted with healing, has the ability Gleam and Glow. When you play this character, remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters. Draw a card for each 1 damage removed this way. This has great draw power here, as I often find myself low on cards, as we just mentioned. She has very low attack, but with 5 willpower she can take a few hits, and that 2 lore is a very nice add. I think this is a very well-rounded card. Next was Maximus Palace Horse. He's a 5-cost Amber with 4 strength, 5 willpower, and 1 lore. He has 2 keywords, Bodyguard and Support. Having 2 keywords on one card is great to see. He has some solid willpower and can hit pretty hard or give that strength to another hard hitter so they have +4. Finally, we saw Flynn Rider Charming Road. He's a 2-cost Emerald with 1 strength, 2 willpower, and 2 lore. His ability, Here Comes the Smolder. Whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card. Emerald has a very strong theme of making your opponent discard. This is another one of those cards that is baiting your opponent to challenge them and they have to discard a card. I would never challenge with this card because of the low strength, but if your opponent is leaving him on the board, you're pocketing 2 lore each time. With its low cost, this is a great early game strategy for Emerald. We've seen many cards from the Hercules movie, and I was wondering when Megara was going to show up. It's great to see an ally card in Emerald, and it's a low cost so you can get some early challenges in if needed. For this next card, we have seen part of this art before on Disney Lorcana website, and the full art is finally here with Kuzco. What a perfect keyword and ability for this Temperamental Emperor. I'm waiting for his Llama Farm card, but I really enjoyed this drop, and with a 3 lore, it's a keeper for sure. Vanilla Genie coming at you with some impressive swagger. Great to see another Genie in the bunch, and my guess is we might see one more in the first chapter. Our next card came from Rochelle asking Steve a question on which franchises might be missing from the first chapter. And holy cow, Treasure Planet is officially in the first chapter! I was not expecting to see this until a later chapter, but was so happy to see this franchise drop. What a surprise and another solid add to Emerald. Next up, we have some baddies from 101 Dalmatians. I think there was a miss here on a potential card combo, as these two are always getting into trouble together in the movie, and it would have been great to see some banished synergy between the two. But I do think these 2 cards are some great 3-drops for the Emeralding. Moving on to the Ruby bunch, we have a Floodborn King Scar. This art is beautiful, and Scar is getting a ton of love in this game, which I am a fan of. His ability is great, but with only 1 lore and such a high cost that is uninkable, I'm not sure I will use this card much. I do need to test it more. It does have solid strength and willpower, but the ability only triggers once, unless you can bounce him and re-trigger, and at this point in the game, I would rather drop Mickey BLT for an 8 cost. Scar, I love you, but this might not be the card for me. Abu, on the other hand, is a low cost, 2 lore. His willpower is, ouch, only 2, but if you just want to give yourself a little lore boost early on, this might be a great one to drop. We have another Elsa that has synergy with Anna. It's great to see one more Elsa that can do this in case you want to switch up the ink colors in your deck. We have seen numerous cards that allow you to ready up, so this is not a new ability, but it does seem to be becoming a common thread in the game. Steve was thinking happy thoughts when he dropped this card in the Q&A, and I can see why, because Captain Hook can finally fly. He's a 5-cost uninkable, but with that shift and a challenger +3, this Stolen Dust ability could be a great card that I use in steel decks. We have our first vanilla Elsa, and the art is probably the best part about this card. But if you were looking for a nice 4-drop in your Amethyst decks, this 4/4/4 is a great one to add. We have another Evasive Amethyst. This is a high-cost card that is uninkable, but if you're down for some Peter Pan synergy, then she could be for you. I doubt that I will play her a lot, but if you wanted some extra evasive cards in your deck, this could be a good option. This last card is one of Steve's favorite cards, and I can see why. Elsa has 3 lore, and being able to block some of your opponent cards from readying is extremely powerful. The uninkable part is difficult to swallow, but with the Shift 6 you might be able to get her out early and make a big dent in your opponent's strategy. Now that we've gone over all of the new card reveals, let's go over some of the Q&A questions that Steve and the team answered. The first question is about who wins if there are only 6 cards in your hands and someone plays a whole new world. Steve said, active players resolve first, so the active player would lose the game in this context. This next question is by Captain Octotroph of Lorcana, and their question states, what would you say is your personal favorite keyword or ability? Steve mentioned that Bodyguard is one of his favorites, and Rochelle said that Singer is her favorite because of the song cards. Next we have a question by Hero named Sam that says, the Emerald card, Do It Again, says return an action card from your discard to your hand. Are songs considered action, since under their title it reads Action Song? Steve said yes, song is a classification of the action card, and a good rule of thumb is that all songs are actions, but not all actions are songs. This next question is in regard to the starter decks, and they asked, are starter decks balanced to prevent best starter situations? The answer from Disney Lorcana is that starters were all tested against each other. They have different playstyles, but they should all be similarly powerful. My friend Brewster5Man asked, in case the question gets missed, please confirm the ruling in the case of Brooms while Mickey Wayward is in play, when Brooms banishes Cheshire Cat or Prince Philip. Same example for Marshmallow versus Philip or Cheshire. The answer from Steve in Disney Lorcana was that any abilities that say in a challenge trigger and resolve while that challenge is still happening. So in the case of, say, Marshmallow and the Cheshire Cat, Marshmallow will banish the Cheshire Cat, because in doing so in a challenge, the Cheshire Cat's effects will banish Marshmallow. This is still resolving in a challenge. So Marshmallow is banished in a challenge and returns to your hand. These next 2 questions are about tournament and regional play. The first question is, will cards in different languages be legal to play outside of those regions? The answer was that this is more related to an organized play ramps up, and we'll have more announcements and rules regarding that at a later time. Similar question and almost same answer, in a limited sealed or draft environment, what would deck building restrictions look like? And they again replied, rules for all of this will come when we're ready to share. If you are interested in exploring what drafting could look like in Disney Lorcana, check out Knives Nerd Quarter, which I will link in the description below, where he explores drafting and playing in the first chapter. Speaking of Knive, he asked, are packs randomized to have cards of every color in them, or are they completely random? The answer was that we try to make sure that there is one of every ink in the common cards, but it is in fact random, so we don't guarantee it. This next question is by Ready Set Draw, which reads, from a design perspective, are ramp effects going to be something that all inks can do in their own way, or will it be color pie allocated to certain ink strategies instead of others? The answer from Disney Lorcana is that abilities and mechanics are tied to ink colors. Some of those are in 2 or more color inks. The type of cards that give you extra ink are mostly in Sapphire. Other cards may be able to ramp in other ways, but Sapphire is the most direct about it. This next question comes from B224. He asks, can I challenge and banish my own character with Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, since it doesn't specify opposing character for challenging and banishing in order to deal 2 damage to an opposing character? The answer from Steve is that you have to challenge opposing characters, period. Thank you all so much for joining in all the new card reveals and covering the Q&A session. Please let us know in the comments what your new favorite card is, and please like this video and subscribe for more Lorcana content. We'll see you in our next video.